Welcome to the funnel. My name is John Shea, and I'm president of Alignment Group. This is episode number 216 of the funnel. My sales team thinks inbound leads suck. Before we get started, I want to remind you to head on over to alignment-group.com/the funnel. Subscribe to the funnel, and we will send you the show notes. We send those out weekly. Today's agenda: do inbound leads suck? 2, diagnose the problem. 3, best practices. And then 4, communicate findings. So we're going to start with, do inbound leads sucks? And my first answer is, I have no idea whether your inbound leads suck or not. So that's the first thing. I need to qualify this. But I'm assuming that you've put a good marketing program in place, or you hired an agency to help with lead generation. So a lot of times what they do is maybe update your website. You might have gone through that. And then the whole content road of blogs and ebooks and downloadable stuff, and the value of that stuff, and the value of bringing people in and narrowing it down based on the personas. And they do all this kind of stuff and apply a bit of science to it, a little bit of art to it. And what they're trying to do is generate opportunities for the salespeople. Now, that comes in the form of an inbound lead. Somebody downloads something, they put their name, their email address, maybe their phone number, whatever it is that you're requiring, and there's an expectation that that lead gets followed through. Now, the marketing people are jumping up and down and say, that's not true. That's top of the funnel. They need to be nurtured. I get all that. So there is a process for nurturing a lead until they're ready for sales interaction. But I don't know how everybody's set up, but I do know this, that oftentimes that's kind of where it stops. You're getting the top of the funnel stuff. And the rate of return for people who download the first thing, maybe it never really happens, or maybe it hasn't gotten there yet. And so you're at this sort of top of the funnel stuff. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But how frequent do your sales reps get inbound leads to say that they suck? Do they get one a month, one every 6 months, 50 a week? It depends. Do they know the ideal prospect benchmarked against marketing's persona? So marketing calls it a persona. That's, you try to identify what a prospect looks like. Maybe the job title, the role, the industry, the age range, their likes, their dislikes. They build this pretend person based on your criteria, your company's criteria. And to some degree that should match sales rep's ideal prospect. Who do you like to talk to in the industry? How do you like to connect with them? What role do they play in the company? Are you talking to CEOs, or are you talking to secretaries? And I say that in a very old school way because I know somebody, I worked for somebody that started in the business back in the 60s. He's mid to late 80s now, and he sold typewriters in New York City by carrying the typewriter around and making sales calls. And who do you think he called on? He called on the typing pool to get them excited to talk to their boss. That's different than somebody that's selling a product and they want to speak to a CEO or president. So where does that ideal prospect fit? Okay. Are the leads good in terms of how the sales reps consider them good? In other words, are they a layup for sale? Or do they fall somewhere in the middle? Do we sometimes get good leads or sometimes get bad leads? I don't know. So I think before you go down this road of do inbound leads suck, you need to really understand what it is you're actually talking about here. That's why I kind of framed it out this way. It's like when somebody says to you, you do that all the time. Do what? And then they say something, but they can't back it up with fact. Well, you did this, 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 and this. Well, what does that mean? I do this all the time, but you can't give me facts on when I do it. And then they get frustrated and angry at you. It's like, look, I can't solve the problem if you can't communicate to me exactly what it is you're going through. So before we go down the road of agreeing with them or disagreeing with them and telling them there's bad salespeople, we need to diagnose the problem. What are we dealing with here? What do the numbers look like? first on the leads. What do they look like? What's the frequency of those leads? When do we get them? What do they look like? How are they coming to us? What's the time frame they're coming to us? How are we responding back? What's the expectation of that response back? How's the individual performance of the sales reps that are following up on the leads? Are there people doing a better job than others? Are there people that have really good numbers in their, say, respective territories, but are really bad with the inbound leads, and vice versa? I don't know. What's the documentation look like? What is it exactly are the prospects getting, and how are you responding to that? So I would say walk me through your process. You have marketing out there that does this thing, and they send a lead to you. What do you do with it? Tell me what you do. Well, the first thing I do is I email them. Okay. How long does it take from the time you got the lead to when you emailed them? That's probably going to be different for each person, my guess is, when you're hearing they suck. Okay. What happens after you email them? I wait. How long do you wait? It could be anywhere from a day to 10 days. And then I follow up with a second email, et cetera, et cetera. So you're looking for them to document how they manage the process, or for you to document how you manage the process. I'm guessing you don't have a formal program in place that says this is how we're going to manage our inbound leads. So we're trying to get to the core of the problem here. The best way to do that is to interview them. Look at it from every angle. Look at their skill set, their ability, their performance to date individually in their territory and benchmarked against the leads that they're getting, how it's documented, what process is being applied and used, and where are they being held accountable. So I'd say if I'm a sales rep listening to this out there, if anybody's come across me and I'm coaching their managers, think long and hard before you start complaining about the inbound leads. Because we're not going to say, oh, they suck, you don't have to deal with it anymore, let's go do something. I'm going to peel back the layers to try to understand it. And why am I going to do that? I'm going to give you two reasons. One, I need to improve performance. I need people to sell as much as they possibly can sell. And anytime I can give my sales reps a leg up, i.e. a lead to manage, that's a good thing for me. Two, my company's spending a lot of money on marketing. I need to get some value out of it. I need to get some benefit out of it for both the marketing company's sake and the marketers and the sales numbers. There's money being spent here. We need to make sure that we're following through. So I'm going to diagnose how this is being managed right now. I'll give you a quick example. Way back when. This is before the advent of inbound. There's a website out there you can put information in and request to buy something, a specific product. Maybe you want to buy office equipment or whatever. It's business. It's a B2B program. So you go to the website, you fill out your form, you send it in, and then this company blasts these leads out to a bunch of companies. That's how it works. And people that fill the form out have no idea what's coming. And what's coming is a tidal wave of contact because there's 20, 30 companies getting this lead and they're all chasing it in one form or another. And we had a bunch of those leads coming in. This is how we managed, and then we distributed amongst the reps. And most of them, and I think I've told this story, most of them complained, right, about the quality of the leads. They suck. People don't get back to you. They tell me to leave them alone, et cetera, except one person. This guy was having a significant amount of success selling those leads. So what do you think I did? How do you do this? What's your process? What's your secret? First thing you do is drop everything. Everything you're doing. And you pick up the phone and call them right away. I mean, like what? Within a half an hour? No, the minute you get the lead. The only time I can't do that is if I'm in the middle of a phone call, or I'm in someone's office. But the minute I get that lead, I drop everything and I call them. And I set an appointment to go right over to their office and sit down with them. And before I end the call, I say, you're going to get a lot of phone calls and emails. Just hang tight with me. I would go ahead and just ignore them until I get there, and I'll walk you through everything. And then if you're not happy with me after that, then you can deal with these other ones. And you will get calls from out of state. You will get calls from places online. We're here. We're local. We're going to help you. And he drives out there. He sits down, and he has everything he needs to walk through that process and sell that on the spot. Closes the deal, moves on. They're generally not large deals. They're like mid-level. They were, mid-level deals when we were doing this. Not so much anymore. This was like 10 or 15 years ago. The point that I'm trying to make is he had developed a process that worked. Everyone else was taking these leads, and oftentimes the case was the next day they were contacting them. So by the time they contacted them, everybody and their brother had been calling and emailing this person, and they'd had enough. So his objective was to get in first and have that conversation. So he had a process that worked, and we applied that across the board. It worked for some people. Other people just couldn't grasp what we were trying to teach them. So we started funneling those leads to one or two people, and that's how we got the business. So diagnose the problem. Why everybody else is saying the leads suck. Why is he selling them? I don't know. Let's figure it out. It can't be he's that lucky. Let's figure out what he's doing. Let's look at it. So that's why I say diagnose the problem. So what are the best practices? Okay, I don't care what anybody in marketing says. I don't care what anybody in sales says. Most people will tell you that have experienced this, you follow up quickly. It's the first thing you do. You follow up with them. There's a beeping in the background. I think it's my laptop here. Sorry, I digress. So you follow up quickly. You either dial or email or both. I would do both if they're both available. Your next best practice is don't try to jump right in. Start the conversation. It's likely the person you're talking to is not the final decision maker. It's likely they've been tasked with something by a group or a boss somewhere to do something. Or they're just trying to figure out what it is that they want. I would start with developing scripts for your sales teams based on the leads. These are the types of leads you get. This is when we get them. Let's develop a script around that. And you can get a little creative with that once you're comfortable. So sit down with marketing and say, okay, when a lead comes in, this is how fast we need it to get to sales. Sales, your responsibility is to follow up quickly and start the conversation. We're going to provide you with some scripts to get started. And we're going to tell you to ditch the pitch. Stop pitching your company and your services. Ask questions. Talk to them about what's important to them based on what they downloaded. Use some email templates to get the conversation started and to continue the conversation. Why are email templates good? Because they don't have to sit there and think their way through it every time they get a lead. Here are the scripts you use. Here are the email templates you use. Let's get the conversation going. Then pick up the phone and call them. Short voicemail, to the point, name, phone number, why you're calling. Mention what they downloaded. You have a couple ideas. End it with your name, your phone number, how they can get in touch with you, and then bam, an email goes out. Because you don't know how these people like to communicate. Some email, some phone call. Avoid moving up the chain. You look at it and say, well, this person doesn't really have decision-making powers. I can see it by their title. I'm just going to call their boss or their boss's boss. Not a good idea. They've put some protocol in place. You need to follow that. Now, all the marketing people are going, well, we need time to nurture it and this, and people are 60% of the way through their buying process before they talk to you. And I get it. I hear where they're coming from. And in certain areas, it's probably true. Maybe in a B2C type category. That's not always the case. You're basing on a lot of assumptions there when a lead comes in. A, that they actually know what they're looking for. They've done all the work. They're very skilled. They know what they're looking for, and they can make a decision. So you think about complex software, for example. Really? Do they really know? 2, that their processes are good and in place. They all work, and everybody's happy. They have a chain of command. They have a process for purchasing that they follow to the letter of the law. They know how to do their due diligence. Now I want you to take a deep breath and think about every company you've ever worked for. And on one hand, you probably can't get to 2 on the companies that had that process down. What makes you think the lead has that ability? So you're making assumptions on their skill sets that just aren't there. I get where marketing's come from because science tells them that. You know, there's all the data points. But I'm telling you, the reason you need salespeople is that's not always true. So be careful with that. What you're trying to do is make the connection, start the conversation, and develop and evolve the conversation into something else. Now, I'm going to say, if you have a really good inbound program in place and you're working top, middle, bottom of the funnel, and you're getting really qualified sales leads, God love you. The vast majority of you are not. you're getting somewhere between top and middle of the funnel, and you're expected to follow up on them. And then everybody's saying that sales reps suck because they're not selling anything, and the sales reps are saying, well, the leads suck. Okay? Somewhere in the middle. Follow this basic best practices. I mean, there's a whole bunch more stuff. I could spend hours on this. This basic best practices. Follow up quickly, start a conversation, develop scripts, develop email templates, ditch the pitch, and avoid moving up the food chain. Try to get to the core of what it is that's bothering them and ask questions around that and challenge some of their answers because they might be wrong. And it's okay to challenge that. Now what do? Hopefully you can move the lead through and create some sales opportunity for yourself. But what needs to happen on the tail end of that, and I'll take it from less from the sales side of it. You kind of move it through the process and you sell something that's great or you lose it. But what do you do to improve it? What's next? I would say communicate the findings in real time, not your leads suck. Well, tell me why. I don't know. They just suck. They're not ready to buy. Every time I call them, I send them an email and no one responds. That's not a lead sucks. That means you sent an email and no one responded. So give me details. I want to know what it is that happened. As a manager, a business owner, or whatever, you want to know what happened. And you want to relay that information to marketing. Tell me what happened. How did you email? I emailed them once. That's not enough. You need to email 4 or 5 times. You need to call 4 or 5 times, 6, 7. It takes 8 on a cold email to get some kind of response. So let's say it's somewhere between 5 and 7. You communicate with them, and it's on a cadence. Bam, first one's out today. Second one's out tomorrow. Third one's out 3 days from that. Fourth one's out 3 days from the last one. Fifth one's 4 days, 5 days, and so on till you get to the end, and you've all received those emails. They call it the breakup email. There's my cadence. There's my email templates. Here's my phone call script. Here's how I'm starting the conversation. When I did get somebody on the phone, this is what happened. When I was able to move it through, this is who I was talking to, and these are the key points. These are the things that they said to me were important to them. This is what's working when I finally do get a hold of somebody and it makes sense to continue the conversation. And this is what's not working. They said they downloaded it and this, and this. We might need to tweak it a little bit or create some different version. In other words, you're sharing your findings. You're sharing what's worked for you and what's not worked. And you're pushing it back on marketing and saying, here's what I found. This is the good stuff. This is the bad stuff. And this is everything in between. And they're making changes to adjust to that. If you're not communicating with them and your team is sitting back and saying, my leads suck, then you deserve what you get. Jump in, figure out what they're doing, how they're doing it, apply a little bit of best practices, and then provide feedback to marketing. And then let that evolve. Keep that as a living, breathing process that keeps getting better and better and better. Hopefully, they get to a point where they are nurturing top, middle, bottom of the funnel, and you're getting a little bit more qualified. But that's not how it works. Generally, you're getting the top, and you're trying to weed through that, and that's okay. It's not a waste of time. Eventually, you can get better if you guys communicate properly. Eventually, you can really improve that. But I do believe it takes both, not just one. Not just marketing, not just sales. Do me a favor, head on over to alignment-group.com/thefunnel and subscribe. You can pretty much find us everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I see I even have the Google Plus sign up here. Ooh. Go to our Facebook page. We have some pretty cool stuff we're doing there, and we're constantly working on improving it. You can contact me at jshea@alignment-group.com. Of course, the website is alignment-group.com. Send me your questions, comments, etc., etc. If you send me a question, I'll be sure and get back to you. Not be that day, but I'll work on it. Getting back to you as soon as possible. I get quite a few, but I respond individually to all of them. No one responds for me. I do it. Thank you for subscribing, and as always, keep filling the funnel.